What is up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Thinking with Mike. And today I got Ken Rife with me again. And we're going to discuss a couple of things. We're getting hit pretty hard in the face with the fall winter marketplace. Our team is actually doing extremely well. Elena, Matt, Emily, they've all found these like late season rushes. And we're seeing a lot of movement on our team. And we're going to have a really nicely profitable November. So I want to lead this with the market is moving. People who want to move are moving. Okay, we're seeing a lot of downsizers do stuff. We're also seeing that like the buyer who is financially well off and astute are moving anyways.
Yep.
Right? Whether they're holding their primary as a rental or selling it in anyways and moving on to the next thing, like they're still moving. And we're seeing a lot of first-time home buyers out in the marketplace. We're also seeing a lot of relocation people selling properties, moving somewhere else. And then we're at probably a normal clip, we're seeing the distressed households, divorces, that kind of thing, right?
Yep.
Forced need to sells. We're doing that. So we're kind of navigating all of those different avenues. So we are selling houses. That being said, the real estate market as a whole, specifically loan officers right now, they're facing an exodus. And that's kind of what Ken wanted to talk about today because he sees this as a major positive.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not like throwing a party about it, but I'm also like, it's happening. And I try to stay really objective about things. Like when something's bad news, it doesn't go into the spin room and, how can I turn this into a positive? It's just like, no, like what is the situation that's happening? How is that happening? Why is it happening?
So
what
context.
is the result of it? Yeah.
Context, we're looking at both our industries that are the same, like real estate, loan officer, real estate agent. Loan officers are just like fleeing the business. Like,
oh yeah.
Right, they're just like, because
we got some numbers that I think are like kind of cool numbers.
Yeah.
In an article, but
I mean, there's just an article here from National Mortgage Professional. And we went through this. It's just talking about the exodus. And one of the biggest factors here is the refi boom that happened from 2020 to 2021, right? Rates dropped down 3%, oftentimes sub 3% on a 15-year, or if you cut the week right. And that brought a lot of like fly by the seat of your pants loan officers into the marketplace. And so these people who came in, correct me if I'm wrong, who found all the easy, quick money and the deals that you couldn't really mess up because, honestly, like refinances are easier. They're much softer, right?
I mean, yeah, you can bury a lot of mistakes in a refi.
Right, because you can just take time.
And the pressure is off because we're not up against this deadline. You know what I mean?
So they do these deals that offers a ton of wiggle room to work things out in the back end that aren't wrecked because like a traditional purchase, if you screw up, you're messing up closing dates, you're screwing up
you can kind of
sellers, buyers, the whole
you
works.
can be a proficient idiot with refinances. I gotta stop really quick and tell you that the fact that you've put your thumbs through the shirt thumb holes is driving me up a wall. Can you please not have them in there?
It's cozy.
It's okay. It looks ridiculous.
How do I say no in another way? How do I say no?
You don't
another
need
way?
to.
I'm going to. It's 34 degrees out today.
It's not 34 degrees.
It was. It's 37, I think.
So anyways,
36 degrees out.
Back to my point of why this is actually interestingly a good thing. How many times have you run into a loan officer, shameless plug for me, that's name is not Ken Rife, that you've done a deal with, that you feel has gone poorly out of 10?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, most of the time. I actually find comfort in those situations where I'm always forced to. Okay, I'll respect your decision as a consumer or a buyer. If you have somebody in your corner that you really want to work with, okay, I'll respect that. I'll work with them. They'll come right into our systems, and we will definitely do that. But it is still forced because I would always prefer it to be with our partners that I know and trust, like Ken, okay? However, I get through those situations knowing that I always have you as a backstop. So if the loan officer screws up, messes with things, I'm going to get that file over to Ken and they'll get corrected.
Yeah, and also without breaching trust, like there have been times where behind the scenes with non-sensitive information where you've been like, hey, I'm running into this. How do we fix this?
Yep.
And that's the power of this team is like, I've always said this with Hancock Group clients specifically, like if they don't choose to work with me, we're still going to come alongside and help and support in areas that we need to. And we've saved some deals in the past that's happened.
A lot of them.
Yeah, and it's just a different way of thinking. But what I'll say about that, though, is that those times, let's say out of every 10, it's 6.5 to 7 times out of 10 where you're running into like, oh my God, this is driving me nuts or whatever. And then I'd say the other 3 are probably like they're good transactions, just the normal communication line. You don't have that cadence set up like what we have. There's clear expectations of what you want me coming to you with and things that you just are like, please do not call me with this. This is wasting my time.
So generally speaking, I don't want to hear from a loan officer. Okay. I want them to be in a bucket where I send them a file, it's done. And I don't hear from them because I know that they're handling it. I know that I have with Ken. Okay, so I send it to them. I don't want to hear updates. I don't want to hear X, Y, and Z.
Sometimes I'll do it just to. Sometimes there was this one deal where they're like, do you want to turn on auto updates to the real estate agent? And JB, my partner, is always like, yeah, we shut these off for Mike, right? I'm like, no. Let her rip on this one because I knew you were gonna hate it. And you get much. 2 for each borrower. Yeah. But that that aside, here's where I think, if you can bring that article back up for me again. Here's what I think is gonna happen. I think you're going to see, and they're in the mortgage world. It's a big industry with it's like big city, small town, right? Like a lot of the players in it. I think the good thing about this is that after this happens, I do think you're going to see a lot of lower quality, and I hate even saying that because I don't mean to sound like a jerk, but less experienced LOs drop out of the market, or the people that aren't willing to commit to making this their full-time job, or people that have committed to that but aren't advising you from a place of security, which is something Mike and I touched on last time, which is if you're entering a real estate transaction with hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, you want to be getting advice that's solid, not advice of, I need to get this commission check or I can't make my bills, right? And I think you're going to see a whole slew of people getting out that don't have the ability to advise from that place. Now, on the flip side...
Are you talking about loan officers?
Loan officers. On the flip side, though, you can close this down. On the flip side, I am wondering what you think, like from a real estate perspective. What do you see ahead?
So to sum this up, like loan officers, the fly-by-night guys. So is what happens with these guys and why they end up exiting the marketplace is that their family, friends, past clients that they've had. When you botch a deal with any of those people, you lose them forever, and they end up over it with somebody with Ken because he comes and fixes the problem, makes it clean, and exposes your inefficiencies. So it's what happens when the market goes down is that new deal flow, that easy refinance deal flow disappears, and you're left with the clients that you've served. And most of them, being a new loan officer, you've destroyed the relationship by just not knowing the things. And so you end up with almost no deal flow, and you end up exiting the marketplace.
Yep.
So that's how we lose loan officers, largely speaking.
And the number, I think I told you this last week, there is I think the last number, and I heard the stat, and it fluctuates all the time because there's different jurisdictions that report differently, but like non-bank loan officers, licensed loan professionals, and I always make the distinction, a licensed loan officer compared to like a bank mortgage professional, and there is a reason that they differentiate that. I liken it to going to H&R Block and getting your taxes done, or going to a CPA and getting your taxes done.
Specializes in your...
That is what they do, right? Like, I know my aunt went to work at H&R Block for 2 years as a part-time gig. It's seasonal. Like, we need someone to come in and here's how you use the software. I'm not saying that there's not good mortgage professionals, bank mortgage professionals, but licensed loan originators. The number that I heard was 100. There were 140 some thousand licensed loan originators back in 2022. And that number projected is expected to fall off to like 85 to 90 this next year, 2024, which is wild. That's wildly low. Like, you don't see an exodus like that in an industry like that percentage drop often. So we're going to go to real estate. So tell me more about that.
Let's swing over to real estate. So we're actually seeing the opposite in real estate, at least from our perspective, is that we're onboarding more new agents than we have in the past. But we've actually been onboarding, anyways, a lot of new agents. And of course, they come in with the backing of like our experience and do that. But we haven't been seeing people really exit the real estate business quite as often. I think it's from the perspective of like we talked about how loan officers can really screw up transactions at a very high level where they get exposed and nobody else gets exposed. A lot of real estate deals that real estate agents screw up, nobody ever finds out about them. Right? So if you screw up the negotiations, you mess up something in the inspection, if you do all of these things as an agent that are truly huge mistakes, they get kind of swept under the rug and they don't get noticed. Right? And so this is why I tell people, like when we're in the throes of the pandemic and when everything was getting 10, 15 offers, I kept telling people like, you still need a professional, even if you're getting multiple offers, because the professional is going to find an extra $10, $20, $30, $40,000 just in the nuanced pieces of doing that. And so, I mean, that's a good example, you know, an agent who can get 10 offers and they get 50K over, everybody's cheering and they're like, way to go. Like you knocked it out of the park. And nobody knows that they left $30,000 on the table because they messed up the last minute negotiating pieces where you just snag an extra little bit of money from your top tier.
What my favorite thing was when talking about real estate professionals is you could sniff out the agents that were going to be around in 5 to 7 years from the ones that are definitely not. And you know how is there were conversations that we had with buyers. I mean, we had to exercise appraisal gap coverage, right? Yep. We did. Yep. That did happen. But 3 things happened when we did that. And for those that don't know, can you explain appraisal gap coverage? Because it's not a common thing right now. Like, it's not a thing right now.
So appraisal gap was really, really important as the market was like super accelerating from 2020 to 2022, early 2022, where the market demand was accelerating at such a pace that we did not have comps to support the new pricing of the marketplace, okay?
And it's important to know what that is, because that is happening again.
Yep.
With the current inventory level where it is, we will be back to this. So store this nugget in the back of your head, because this is a dead concept right now. It's a dormant concept. This is coming back.
Yep.
Mark my words.
So there's a significant difference in your appraisability of a property and the market demand of a property, okay?
Yep.
One is relying on past data that has happened in the past, right? That's what the market did. So we have all the closed comparables that are similar to the property, and we use those properties as a means to support the price over here. The problem is when market demand is accelerating so fast that you're gonna have a void between these two things. And then there's also nuance that appraisals are done by people who are called appraisers. And if you want somebody who I have zero respect for, by the way,
Mike's
tangent, I'm taking it.
Mike's
Appraisers, you guys are garbage. Okay?
If you're actively appraising one of my homes right now, please ignore everything Mike's saying. I don't agree with him at all.
I'll tell people why. Is because I've seen the same property appraised within the span of a month by 3 appraisers. By 3 appraisers.
$1,000 gaps.
Several times, and I've had them miss by hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the same property within the same period of time appraised by 3 different licensed appraisers, and there's a wide 6-figure gap on these houses. You cannot convince me when that's happening within the standards that you follow that you guys actually don't have a significant say in like whether a property appraised or not. Like it's not data focused. It just isn't. Like I don't want to hear it. That got off track. Really long overdue. Should have done that a while ago.
He had to get that off his chest.
Happened on my house.
We needed
too.
that.
Happened on my primary house.
We have Mike and I have we're the same in every way. We look the same. We act the same. We have the same beliefs on everything. We agree. We agree on absolutely everything.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Definitely.
If you know Mike and I, we are probably the 2 most different people ever. But this is a topic. This is an area where we, during a business transaction, this is our most contentious point. Is Mike will call me and be like, this effing guy. Yep. And I'll be like, well, the comps do the... I don't give a shit about your comps.
I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear it.
We'll have a good... we'll have her out. Mike always gets his way, and then we just roll with it. But
sometimes
I think the reason why this is important is because, and going back to my point, was there were agents that were putting buyers into homes with these gap coverages. And it's like anything. When you've swung and missed, like if you're batting 0.05% or whatever, and your success rate's down, you kind of loosen up your strategy and you let go of some of these like core principles that you have when you're negotiating, and you just kind of start throwing the kitchen sink at it. Starts happening, and you've got to kind of be careful, because I don't disagree that your strategy has to change in those hard markets. But when you go from, all right, we want to have this is really important to us, it's important we don't overpay for a home, it's important that we keep it, to F it, 50K over appraisal gap coverage, to whatever, don't give a shit. That's where it gets dangerous. And if you're not having the conversation with your client, this is what you always said that I loved. I'm going to have to come back and sell this home someday. Am I setting myself up for success, or am I setting myself up for a paycheck in a month? And then in 3 years from now, that client's calling me going, I'm 30K underwater because of the offer. And you never talked to me about that. Yep. You never told me that I was going to be underwater. You never talked about the risk of an appraisal gap coverage, blah, 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 blah. And I've seen it happen enough times to where if that agent's not having that conversation, I'm going to have that freaking conversation. Right. And the agents, the ones that aren't in the industry anymore, we're okay having those conversations without talking about that.
So let's go back to the appraisal gap, and I'll go back. I derailed this. Okay. So you have your comp, and then you have the market up here. Okay. Now the conversation that you need to have as a high level agent when you're up here and you have buyers that are up here. Mm-hmm. Okay. The only time I ever advised an appraisal gap coverage is if this listing agent screwed up the purchase price.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Because just going over market because you're going over market never made sense. But I did write appraisal gap coverages up to 100,000 over the asking price, because I was anchored in the fact that I knew the market so well that I'm like, you guys, even though this seems like it's 100 over, we're at a value because the listing agent botched.
Yes.
They botched their asking price. So we're not like this much over. We're actually kind of like this, because they should have priced it up here anyways. And I've got the data to support this. I've sold tons of my repeat clients' houses that I sold to houses during 2021, 2022, and they've been called away on relocations. All sorts of different things have happened, and not one of them has been underwater.
Right.
And we've actually pulled profit from them.
That is a huge stat.
Yep.
When you think about it. And I think, honestly, this is coming to me now. That's a stat you should start aggregating really data on, and probably should have for clients moving forward, because I do not think agents all the time think about that.
It's sold
this is an
Prior
asset.
Lake.
We've got to remember, yes, you're cooking dinner there, you're hosting holiday events there, you're bringing home children there. It's your area of refuge. It's a safe haven. It's your home. But at the core of it, our job is to give you a place that all those things are being met, all those needs are being met, and those wants are being met. But on the back end, and maybe less apparent, is this a good asset?
Well, you don't want to be
a good
jail.
investment, right?
You don't want to. You don't want to sign up for jail,
right? So
one that I'm thinking about right now, I sold one in Prior Lake. We just closed on it in the middle of last winter, which is, I'm going to be honest with you, this is the harshest selling environment that we've seen. Was last winter. And I had just bought the property with him less than a year prior, and we'd gone 100,000 over asking with appraisal gaps. And we sold it for, I think we bought it for $465, and we sold it for, I think like $485 within the year, even though we went 100 over. Mm-hmm. So there's examples of that exactly happening. And you think that you're putting something negative equity, and you're absolutely not, and have the proof.
You're not. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, those take time to really, and it takes an agent going, hey, how long do you think you're going to be here? And everyone's like, forever.
Yep.
Okay, but do you have a job that could change? Yeah. Do you have a job that can move? Yeah. Are you happy in your job, or are you going to switch companies because they might make you move?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, then we can't look at this with a 10-year arc.
No, and so here's your risk tolerances, here's your
a
expectations.
30, a 5. A 1 year, it's crazy. So
this article, let's switch over to, is very contrasty to Ken's, because you'd think that it would be the same thing. a glut of agents are leaving the marketplace, right? But they're not.
They're not.
Okay? They're absolutely not. And instead, we're seeing articles like this: a glut of mediocre realtors are screwing over home buyers. Okay, and so that's what we talked about.
Yep.
We're not seeing this mass exodus of agents, and like I said, in fact, the people who are onboarding are newly licensed.
Yeah.
Which is exciting, and they're already having success. By the way, we'll have 3 at the end of the year that are newly licensed, and the one who's been with us for 5 months, she's got active escrows for the next few months.
Cool. And there's still a lot of ceiling there.
A lot of ceiling,
right?
Okay,
So,
big time. So that's what you're going to see. You're going to see this, and we don't need to go into detail, but that is basically like how they screw up. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a contrast, and I think that you're seeing a lot of different things, a lot of different articles out there, this, that, whatever.
I will say that this is something
I love that quote.
Right?
It's just it's just terrible to have such.
Well, and we have this weird contrast, and I know NAR, National Association of Realtors, has been under major fire lately, and so you have these contrasting like goals. Okay, so you'll have the consumer's goal that they'll want the highest level performing agent to protect them through this transaction, right? And a good agent can really add tremendous value and streamlining to this process, okay? Now, on the other hand, so that's what the consumer wants. That's absolutely what they want. And then you have the National Association of Realtors, or NAR, whose goal is to maximize the amount of agents that they have paying dues. Yeah. And so you have this like, that's a stark contrast. So NAR's goal is going to be to lower the bar and set their ethical standards and all this other bullshit. But they're also going to be lowering the bar to entry so that they can increase their subscribership. Yeah. And so it's something that's going on right now in the court systems, and you're going to have a hard time backing up NAR because it is quite easy to become a real estate agent. And a lot of the burden of picking somebody who knows what they're doing and is going to do a phenomenal job for you and be an actual asset and not a boat anchor to your transaction is left on the consumer. The problem with the consumer making a good rational decision is that we have kids, we have family members, we have cousins, we have coworkers, we have all this bullshit that will actually enter into your decision-making process, and you end up weighing the emotional aspect of this instead of the logical aspect of this.
Right.
And that's where the major harm comes. It's the kids, it's the cousins, it's the grandkids, it's like I said, the co-workers, all those types of things.
So true.
Yeah, we're these big real estate firms who hire agents, pay for their schooling, and then send them like online Zillow leads and jam them in front of consumers and just a mass turn. Zillow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening.
That's what's happening. So that's exactly what's happening.
We're not going to see agents leave, okay? It's going to be up to the consumer to make a good, rational decision.
Yep.
And I'm sorry if that's going to break your, kid's heart. Just make sure when you're making the decision, like you said, we're onboarding. We're onboarding new agents, okay? But they're coming with extreme
standards
and guidance throughout their transactions, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But not everybody else does that.
Any other gripes you have specifically towards appraisers?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to send it
to everyone
it's gonna
we
have
know.
Its own reel.
Oh gosh, I love that.
As always, move if you want to. There's so much like opportunity out in the marketplace right now. Hold on, let's pull this up. Look at this. This is a phenomenal time. I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm gonna.
You can do it. Calling it audible.
All right, so this is our Home Spotter app. It's basically our direct link to the MLS. If you want to buy a house with me, I'll send you a link to this, and then you can have it. That way, you're not using Zillow, Realtor.com, all that crap that is selling your data. This is just straight inventory from the MLS, accurate. But I wanted to go through this and look at all of this. When everybody says nobody's moving, like these are all active listings right now. Okay, all the greens. This one's sold, but people are absolutely moving. Okay, like you can see it every single neighborhood. has a green sign on it, and people are moving their lives forward. Okay, so you can't sit here and say nobody is moving. Okay?
Yep.
And then I want to switch over to the pendings, okay? This is the people that are actually, and I'll get solds in here too, okay? This is what's actually been happening, okay? So don't tell me not anybody is moving. This is and this is what it takes to be a real estate agent at a high level. So you can start getting negative on yourself and like, oh, this is hard. It's like, no, pull up the pendings and solds.
Yep.
And every single one of these dots is a family or an individual or a corporation that is moving, okay? So in everywhere you go throughout the entire metro, there's just flag sticks upon flag sticks upon flag sticks. So no, not everybody is sitting on their 3% interest rate just because they have a 3% interest rate. Not everybody's house is their own personal interest rate jail.
Right.
Okay? People are absolutely moving and they're buying. And so
and opportunistic transactions happening on probably just about all of these. I'd say there's very few bad deals happening, and by bad deals I mean unequitable towards one side or the other. I think there are very equitable deals happening on both sides of the line.
Absolutely. It's a great time to sell because you're going to, one, there's buyer demand out there. Okay. As you can see, let's look at all these. As you scroll out, you'll see less of them as you scroll in. So anyways, but there's active buyers out there. We're still seeing multiple offers and you're still maximizing it. And the bonus of being a seller right now is that when you go to enter back into the marketplace, it's also softer.
Yeah.
So you get it on the buy too.
So true. That's true.
So I think this is important to bring up. This is Minneapolis, the Twin Cities area. I was hyper focused in I was right over in the southwest corridor that I was actually pulling stuff up in there.
It's everywhere though.
But it's everywhere, right? So anywhere within the metro, you just scroll in, okay? And look at it. Yeah. Okay, people are moving. If you want to be and you can afford it, be a part of it.
Indeed.
End of it. So, see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment below.
We'll see you next time.
But the more you guys follow, the more fun this is. See ya.
Indeed. Thanks, guys.
Bye.